Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Apex Racing TV, and welcome back to the Detroit Region SCCA Sim Racing Series presented by Superlap. This is round number 2 of the season, coming to you tonight from Navarra. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Bichelle, and in the virtual production hall, we have our old buddy Josh Wilkie. Tonight, we head off to one of the newer tracks on the iRacing platform. Navarra is a track that, by and large, has been met with some rather mixed reviews from drivers ever since it was added into the system a couple of seasons ago. Personally, I'm not too big of a fan of the track, albeit I'm not too big of a fan of most primarily motorcycle tracks that you find on iRacing nowadays. Driving around this track, you can really tell that it's meant for 2 wheels instead of 4. But hey, it's a track we're running at tonight, and it's going to be a tough one for these drivers, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this before the broadcast started, how it's another one of those Spanish tracks, and it's kind of got that MotoGP feel to it, much like Barcelona or Aragon, which I covered in a different broadcast over the weekend. It's got that same kind of a feel, moderate elevation, but open corners. There's some very tricky corners, and we'll talk about that as we're getting ready for the race here. It's got that same kind of feel that you would get at a Barcelona or an Aragon, or maybe even a Portimao, which is in Portugal. Definitely has the feel of a MotoGP circuit that they've converted to run race cars on. But it's going to be a very interesting race. This is, as you said, one of those newer tracks. So it'll be something that the drivers will have to get their minds wrapped around and get some feel for, and should make it for a very interesting broadcast.
It's going to be an interesting broadcast all throughout tonight here on Apex Racing TV, and also going to be an intriguing race as well. This qualifying session running mega long, over 5.5 minutes overtime, but still it's going to be Russell Soto grabbing the pole position for this race. Kevin Rold going to join him on the front row, and those two created a real exciting finish 1 week ago at VIR, a lap traffic encounter gone wrong, heading down into the roller coaster for the final time in that race, result in Russell Soto ending up in the barrier and Kevin Rold ending up in victory lane when everything was said and done for that race. So hoping that we don't have a lap traffic encounter like that for this week.
Yeah, it's let's hope not. But this being a fairly new track, and these drivers may be their first experience here, the fact that we've got a 40 car grid or thereabouts it should make there is definitely a possibility that we're going to encounter some lap traffic before this race is all over with.
And lap traffic encounters around this tight, twisty, technical 15-turn road course is going to be real tough. I will note a couple things about this track. We talk about how it's one of the newer ones onto iRacing. It's one of the newer ones just in the racing world, period. Navarra was only opened back in 2010. This racetrack turning 15 years old this year. So it really speaks volumes about the new nature of this circuit. And the layout that we're running at today and the layout that we have in iRacing isn't even one that's around anymore. The track underwent a pretty significant redevelopment right after iRacing scanned it. The entire section from turn number 10 all the way up until turn 12 has been pretty much entirely refreshed, which I think is a good thing because turn number 11 and 12 in the mid-sector of this racetrack, in my personal view, really tough series of corners to try and get right regardless of what kind of race car you're running around here. But we do have some really good corners, and that being one of them. And that's turn number 9, the hairpin at the end of the back straightaway, which I think, Charles, is going to be one of the key overtaking opportunities that these drivers are going to look to try and use.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you find a hard braking zone, that's usually a good opportunity for a chance to make a move. Just being brave late on the brakes. But as Josh and I were talking about, the first 3 corners, 1, 2, and 3, are just it's very much a feel section of corners. You just have to just get the feel of the corners down because it's a set of what I would call descending radius corners. That means it gets tighter. Every corner gets a little bit tighter until you get to that final one at turn 3. As well as so it's just going to be a rhythm thing that you're going to have to get adjusted to get the fastest line through there. And that may be something we'll have to watch out, because I did see several cars just overcooking it a little bit, taking it wide, going out of 2 into 3. Good thing there's a little bit of runoff area there, so no harm to anybody. But it was definitely a challenge for a few of these drivers.
Yeah, the challenge is certainly going to be continuing around this racetrack. I mentioned earlier on 15 corners, but every single corner around this racetrack just feels so different compared to the ones that came before it. So these drivers got a lot of challenge on their hands, and they're trying to get as much seat time as they possibly can. We're in this warm-up session right now. Still have a lot of time left to go on the clock in this warm-up session, but I'll briefly run through the sort of lap times that we've been seeing thus far in this race meeting here at Navarra today. I mentioned a few moments ago that Russell Soto was the fastest qualifier at 144.977. In the practice session, he was stupidly quick as well at 144.8, and that was holy cow, looking through, that was about 0.6 of a second quicker than the P2 driver in that practice session earlier, which was Tristan Rogers in the number 15. My apologies, Tristan. His name seeming to not be able to roll off my tongue here tonight, but the driver of the number 15 car challenging the number 50 in that practice session. However, not really showing the same pace in the qualifying session as he qualified for this race in 5th, about 0.5 seconds slower than his practice times earlier on. And when it comes to a racetrack like this as well, Charles, super tough to try and convert the pace that you showed in practice into the qualifying session, then through the warm-up and into the race. Really hard to maintain that level of consistency.
Yeah, it is, and I think that just goes along with it being a new track. You know, if we were going to say a Watkins Glen, you know, a lot of these drivers probably have thousands of laps there because it's run, you know, three or four different car official series every season. You can find a different car to get out there and run at a place like that. But this being new, it's a little bit of a different story as we're on board here. We're coming into that turn 1, so you're going to see this kind of an open corner in the 1, and then you get a little bit tighter there, and there's where you're going to see, yeah, just got to get on the brakes there, and then a really tight turn 3, and that's going to catch a few people out tonight before it's all said and done.
Yeah, that opening section of corners, very similar to Portimao, Charles. You mentioned a very good point earlier on. That opening section of corners, feels sort of like it in a way. It feels like that section of corners as if it approached the event horizon of a black hole. But let's take a look at Dustin Dark and his perspective throughout the rest of this lap. That was a series of turn number 5, 6, and 7 that we saw him go through a couple of moments ago, into turn number 8, which is a very important corner around this racetrack, leading onto this back straightaway, while the longest flat-out blast of the lap, second only to that massively long start-finish straightaway, and leads into while the premier overtaking opportunities in the form of the hairpin of turn number 9. Well, go through the gears as quickly as you can, get a little bit loose on that inside curb. The curbs around this track as well, real tough, and you can see that guy put on full display through this 11 and 12 section. The inside curbs feel like a mountain that these drivers are having to slam into as you head through turn number 12 right now. Dark trying to get a grips with this racetrack at the present moment, hanging his way into the hairpin at turn number 13. I've seen some drivers come to blows in that section in the past, and I have a feeling that we're going to get some more cases of that as well. This is the second to last corner of turn number 14. Important to get yourself lined up for the final corner of turn 15 as quickly as you possibly can. Super easy to run wide, and trying to run wide to also avoid the spun car on the outskirts of that corner. But Dustin Dark completing a lap of Navarra, a very hectic lap to be sure.
Yeah, not only can you see Dustin's lap, you can see Dustin down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen as he had his camera on. So it was good to actually get the driver in action as he's trying to navigate this track, and it was a pretty good lap. There was a couple of areas, obviously, you could just see where it was a little bit new to him. So that won't be the last time we see anybody struggle with a corner, I promise, tonight. As we get on board here with Zane Cross in the Mercedes. I'm trying to figure out which of the GT4 cars is probably the best one here. My guess is it's probably going to be the Porsche, just because of the nature of the track. The BMW is from everything that everybody's told me, the new BMW leaves a little bit to be desired as far as competitiveness. The Mercedes and the Astons with those big front ends and engines in the front may not suit this track very much. So I'm kind of leaning toward it might be a Porsche, or maybe even the McLaren.
Oh, just have to wait and see what car is going to be the one of choice for these racers. Who can make their car work and who won't be able to make it work is the real question. We've already had one fantastic race this season. Looking to keep it rolling here for the second race tonight. But to put on this fantastic racing action here from the DRSCCA Sim Racing Series presented by Superlap, we've got some absolutely brilliant sponsors. The Detroit Region Sports Car Club of America, aka the DRSCCA, has been providing motorsports events since 1948. With over 1,400 members, there is no shortage of knowledge, history, and trailblazing ideas like this sim racing league. Thank you to all the participants and spectators for being a part of the augmentation and evolution of the region. The DRSCCA, of course, goes far beyond the virtual realm. In 2024, the region is hosting over 40 events over 60 days that can get you both behind the wheel or so close to it that it'll blow your hair back. The gamut of behind-the-wheel events includes road racing, road rally, rallycross, autocross, and a competition driving school. Support for the Detroit Grand Prix, Formula SAE programs, and Street Survival are also amazing opportunities to help sculpt future and professional drivers. Check out drscca.org for more information. Additionally, we would like to thank Waterford Hills Road Racing, Metro Detroit's only permanent sanctioned road course. Waterford Hills, located in Clarkston, Michigan, hosts a 6-weekend race series, competition driving school, and 9 public open track days. The track is hot from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on these event days and is open to the public. A nominal $5 entry fee is all it takes for you to get close to the action. Check out waterfordhills.com for more details. An additional thank you goes to the Michigan Turn Marshals for their support as well. If you'd like to get close to the action, be sure to check out michiganturnmarshals.org. They can train you to support races like the 2025 Detroit Grand Prix. And last but certainly not least, we would like to thank the supporting partner of the DRSCCA series, that being Superlap. Located on the world-renowned Woodward Avenue in Berkeley, Michigan, Superlap is a sim drive studio, a space to meet and compete. With professional-grade racing simulators, they are a premier racing and driving experience venue. They will help you achieve your motorsports goals with education, practice, and training. If you're a race fan, you may be familiar with Formula One. Well, interestingly enough, the reigning 3-time Formula One world champion is a pretty big proponent of sim racing. If Max Verstappen uses a sim, shouldn't you? You can race and practice against an AI roster, go head-to-head with other humans, or both for that matter. They also offer league play like the DRSCCA League. Go to superlap.world for details. Thank you to all the partners and people who make this series and these broadcasts possible, and now on with tonight's action. Coverage of the DRSCCA Sim Racing. And the racing action is going to be fantastic this evening. And speaking of, let's get things up and rolling from the second race of this championship. Go get that starting grid loaded up for you in just a couple of moments' time. Get the ball rolling. We got 40 cars to burn through here, so we've got a lot of starters that are going to be grabbing the green in the not too far off future. Thankfully, though, we do have a full pace lap, so that's going to be helping us a little bit. Here is the starting grid. Russell Soto going to be grabbing the pole position, setting a 1:44.977 in the process. Sean Fritz will join him on the front row. We have Lincoln Olsen starting this race in third. Ari Reuter going to start alongside in fourth. Tristan Rogers will start in fifth. Andrew Mowat going to be starting this race in sixth. The top qualifying of the AM drivers. The AM drivers, of course, being classified and marked with that small little light blue ticker on our wonderful SDK graphics here on Apex. We also got Bob Keach starting this race in seventh. Sean Gaynor joining him on the fourth row. Andrew Swartwood, my apologies. He's going to be starting in 9th. Eric Hallsband will start in 10th. Zane Cross in P11. Andrew Herschel in P12. And looking through the final starters we've got inside the top 20, we've got Ryan Goff in lucky number P13. Zohair Ahmed in 14th. Jay Lasco in 15th. Kyle Barron in P16. Dom Batts in 17th. Trent McMillian in P18. And riding out your top 20 is David Crooker in the Superlap 6 car.
Yeah, starting in 21st, we've got Matt Malone, Mike Smith in 22nd. Corey Smith in 23rd, Alexander Reuter in 24th. We roll on through the grid here. Chad Geidel in 25th, Stephen Kahn 26th, Eric Christensen in 27th, David Moreno 28th, Richard Shaib in 29th, Alan Robson rounds out your top 30, Andrew Little in 31st, Anthony Cuthbert in 32nd, Arush Kumar in 33rd, Alex Delatorre in 34th, Hazim Zainadine in 35th, Dustin Dark 36th, Alex Larson in 37th, Paul Darling 38th, Luis Belota in 39th, David Grudzinski in 40th, and rounding out your 41 car grid, we have Chris Walker.
41 drivers set to grab the green in a couple of moments. I'm going to say one thing as well, and we were talking about this before we started up the show. It's absolutely wonderful to see the fantastic participation here from this DRSCCA season. 40-plus cars for both of the races that we've had thus far this evening. Of course, VIR and Navarra both being part of base content, I believe, but still absolutely wonderful to see the participation we've had thus far. We still got a fantastic season of races to look forward to. Laguna Seca going to be the next round of this championship in 1 week's time. Road Atlanta, Mid-Ohio, and Road America going to bring this 6-round championship to a conclusion. We've already had one fantastic race at VIR 1 week ago. Navarra looking to be another one to add into our tally with 15 corners around this track. It's tight, twisty, technical, and real challenging as well. And it's only 2.4 miles as well. So those 15 corners come at you really, really quick. These drivers have a fast-paced race to look forward to, 30 minutes long, and we're about to get things up underway. That pace car making the long detour to eventually get down into pit lane. May have to talk about the pit entry at some point between now and the end of this race, and some drivers having a sketchy exit of the pits as well. But as the field trundles their way onto the start-finish straightaway, looking at Barry the Flagman with the green flag in the air. Let's see how long these drivers are going to have to wait before they grab the green. They're grabbing the green out, the green flag out, and the drivers are on their way as a fan ad hang down the start-finish straightaway, already running 4 wide. It's going to be a competitive ride run. Heading down now into the first braking zone. This turn number 1 right now, but now they're dropping the anchors into 2 and 3. Some creative interpretation of track limits a little bit farther in the back, but these racers fanning at 2, 3, even 4 wide. Heading through the first series of corners, some off-track rally lines coming at turn 3, but leading this race from the drop of the green flag is going to be Russell Soto.
Yeah, it was a pretty good start, actually, to be fair. We had some cars that were having to take some evasive maneuvers, but no spins. Don't see anybody that's just kind of fell down the order, so good start by everybody out there.
Yeah, very good start for the drivers up and down this grid rise. I say that, though, that's a Porsche spinning off, heading through the turn number 6 and 7 section. That quick series of corners comes back to bite some of these drivers on the butt, but look at this, 3 wide, heading down into the corner. Another driver going off the track, not sure who that was. I gotta feel bad for our producer. Had to be like a chameleon, looking at about 14,000 different things at once. I believe it was Sean Gaynor, the AM driver, the number 23 Porsche that we saw go off the track. He's right there in the back, a shot currently battling hard with a Mercedes on the outside of him. That, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, is a 35 car of Alex Larson, as we see some side-by-side racing heading through into turn number 10 right at the beginning of this race. These drivers are giving us an action-packed green flag lap.
Yeah, there's a couple of, that was, I hate to commentator curse somebody saying we didn't have any spins and then immediately got one. There's a little bit of beating and banging here in the mid-pack, but kind of to be expected early on. Everybody's pretty tight together. Some people just kind of jockey for position through corners, but so far, still a pretty good race so far, and everybody's rolling forward.
Yeah, everyone's still marching along to the beat of their own drum, and you can just see the lineup of cars running around this track like a bunch of ants migrating their way to an abandoned picnic. Contact being made through turn number 3. That's Lincoln Olsen and Ori Reuter nearly coming to blows, heading off through that corner. Andrew Mowat was going to pick up the pieces and maybe got moved on Sparkwood. That's a battle right now for the AM lead. So those two drivers gonna give us a good battle to talk about. One in a Porsche, another in a McLaren, and these two yet to grab an AM checkered flag thus far this season. The AM winner 1 week ago was Alex Reuter. However, he's moved up into the pro category, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. But either way, looking like we got some great battles to talk about all throughout this field.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got some hard chargers already. Great start by Tristan Rogers, jumped up 3 positions up into second place, and you can just kind of see he got a really good run at the start of the race. Timed it really well, came up the inside, made a couple of passes as we're on board here with Luis Belota. Struggling a little bit. He had a little bit of a struggle session last week, but he's still out there fighting, so it's good to see him back out on the track.
And I gotta say one thing as well, despite some of the hecticness we saw at the very start of this race, very little attrition as it stands at this point in time. We still got 38 cars out there on track. The only retirements thus far, I believe, it's literally just David Grzinski in the number 38 car. Outside of that, Chris Walker and Stephen Cohn did not take the start of this race, but look at that. That's Crocker backwards, heading through the final corner, going from right to left of our screen. Oh, and be careful on the rejoin. Back up, back up, back up. Don't want to be there. Back up, back up. Oh, oh boy.
Great job by everybody for that. That was a very bad position to be in, and I kind of feel for Daniel. That's just on the exit, right in the racing line. Sideways, and you saw everybody just scrambling to find a good line around him, and he did, all things considered, probably would have waited until the rest of the cars cleared, but he did a really good job of trying to keep the car tight to the outside of the track, so he could get the car righted and back rolling again. So not too bad of a rejoin, not great, but not, I've seen a lot worse, I promise.
That still threw me for a loop. I'm trying to reacclimatize myself to speaking English after I was speaking in tongues as we saw that car back up and try and rejoin the racetrack hanging through turn number 15. That, I have a feeling that's going to get clipped for the monthly highlights here on Apex Racing TV, which you can catch the monthly highlights for January once this broadcast ends. Do that after this race broadcast is over, not before then, if you do that before. will come back to bite you. Anyways, looking at some drivers going side by side, hang down the back straightaway off it to turn number 9. That's Sean Gaynor. Had a pretty rough start in this race. I believe he started from the pole of the AM drivers, but after an incident hang through turn number 6 and 7 at the very drop of the green flag, he is on the back foot massively, still trying to make his way up through the field. However, it's a long road between himself and this man, Andrew Mowat, who's your current AM leader. Yeah,
that's a big hill to climb. So he's got plenty of time. We're just only in the 5-minute mark of the race, so another 24, 25 minutes or so to go. So he's got plenty of opportunities, and you just never can tell with these races what's going to happen. As Mowat's doing a really good job up to the front. I've got a question about maybe we've got another AM driver that's also up there that's running P4. I think Zane Cross. At least that's what it's showing on my screen, or at least in the timing and scoring graphics. I know the graphics on the screen show something different. So we'll say Andrew is leading, because we do know that he is an AM for sure.
Yeah, so that is how things are shaken at the present moment. We'll note as we see, and contact being made with Dom Batts. That, I think, may have been him and the Superlap 6 car. Was either that or Shaid heading through turn number 5. That long, never-ending, bumpy left-hander. An easy point of the racetrack to lose it at, I think, Dom Batts, who was a hard charger 1 week ago at VIR, not going to be the hard charger this week, as you can see him spin and bang. That right there was the number 22 car that made contact with him. Really nowhere to go for the 22, nowhere to go for Batts either. That corner, really easy to lose it. Unfortunately for Corey Smith, who's a car that came to the scene of the accident, just nowhere to go for him, as Dominic Batts trying to trundle that race car back around at the track. That thing's ready for the scrap heap.
It's because you may want to tow that. It had a pretty serious crab to it, so you may want to just go ahead and tow that one back to the pits, and he has, so that's good. It's once again another one of those where you're just left to out on your own there and hoping nobody hits you. At that time, you got collected, messed the front of the car up, but you can see where he was just a little carried too much speed through there for the Mercedes to handle.
And speaking of carrying speed, we got two Mercedes carrying a boatload of speed through the first series of corners side by side. That's Ahmed and Herschel battling for the final spot in the top 10. It looks like Ahmed going to hold off the challenge for now in that number 12 car, with the 69 car of Herschel looking to pick up the pieces, if at all possible, and make his way up into the top 10. You've got a massive pack of race cars. Right now, Kyle Barn, he's going to get a move put on him by Goff. Look at that, Goff taking advantage of that running wide moment for the number 96 car, and Trent McMillan got to pick up the pieces there as well. Ryan Goff, who we see the webcam view of right now, making hay while the sun is shining and getting that move done in a slick manner on that Porsche who went wide in front of him.
Yeah, just see the move here as he takes it. Nice run up on the inside, and that's what you have to do on some of these corners. You have to be a little brave and late brake, and he was able to get to the inside and make that pass very, very, very nicely.
Yeah, and you could see there, as we were following him, the view of the bumpiness heading through turn number 5, as we nearly just saw a parking lot heading through turn number 11 involving Jay Lasco. I'm trying to turn my head to get the good view of his webcam view right now. He's currently racing on a cruise ship, so that's part of the reason why it's tilted over a teeny tiny bit. That's oh boy. I will note something as well, entirely unrelated from the racing action going on, but something that may affect my presence here on the air. I've had a very good streak in terms of I think I've probably done about 250 to 300 shows since the last time this happened to me on the air. I spilled some water on my desk, so hopefully that didn't hit any of my keyboards, doesn't spill over to my computer. I think I've got the spill mostly taken care of. My mouse pad is a little bit damp as it stands at the present moment, but that's neither here nor there. I had a really good streak going. I think the last time that happened to me was on an Apex Racing Academy F4 race earlier on in 2024. That's a spin for Reuter heading through turn number 3.
Yeah, you could just see carry too much, and I think that's been the name of the game tonight, is just people not judging the braking line and how much speed they can carry through some of these corners quite perfectly just yet. As you can see, that's in that turn 2, turn 3, and just too much steering input while he was braking and trying to get the car slowed down, loses the rear end of the car. Luckily, nobody collected him, and he can continue racing, just lost some time.
And I will mention at this point in time, Russell Soto certainly showing a lot more coordination than I did based off the fact I spilled the water. He is still leading this race and still pulling away as it stands at the present moment. My father walks into my commentary booth and hands me a towel. Thank you very much, Dad, for that. I got the spill taken care of already, so thank you very much. That right there's my father, ladies and gentlemen. You will see him yet again on the air in another 2 years next time that happens to me. But Russell Soto at the front of the field still pulling away and hoping to have a bit more of a comfortable race than he did 1 week ago at VIR. The one driver who was keeping him steady throughout that race was Kevin Rold. However, Rold, as he said in his post-race interview 1 week ago, not going to be with us here this evening, so that's allowing Soto to check out as a fight may be developing behind involving Rogers and Keech.
Yeah, that is definitely heating up here between Rogers and Keech, and Rogers did a good job early on to kind of hang with Soto, but Soto, the pro driver, is starting to get the rhythm down and starting to click off some really quick laps.
Putting in some very good lap times on the board, and let's see if this fight is going to develop between these two racers. Bob Keech getting off to a good start, up 4 spots from where he started in this race. He's not the hard charger, though. The hard charger, as it stands currently, have to go a little bit farther back to find Paul Darling in the number 155 Porsche. As it stands currently, he's running in P22, up 16 spots from where he started in this race. That is a very good drive as it stands at the moment for the driver of the 155. And let's see, he can still make up some moves between now and the end of this race. I just realized 155 and a very good drive rhyme. I'm a poet and I don't know it, as we're still riding on board and following Bob Keech in third as it stands at the present moment. They've got a bit of a cushion between themselves and Zane Cross running behind in the number 31 Mercedes. He's gone off to a good start too, up 7 spots from where he started in this race. So pretty good drive for some of the drivers occupying the top 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a good run so far. And, the Keech in that Porsche is just a little bit quicker every lap over Rogers. And that last lap, actually, almost a half a second. So he's definitely on the move forward. So we're going to see if he's going to be able to give Rogers and make a move and get a pass and get up to that P2 and see if he can chase Soto down. He's actually pretty close to Soto's pace. That last lap was only a 10th off.
As we continue to follow Jay Lasco, still doing that sim racing event that he's a part of here tonight from a cruise ship. That, or he's like doing it from a planet where like the gravity acts weird and it like comes down sideways. You can tell I fell asleep a lot in I nearly said silence class. It was silence for me as I fell asleep in science class. As we're following Andrew Little, who is racing in the right direction as it stands at the moment in the Waterford Concepts racing car. That number 40 Mercedes currently running 31st as it stands at the present moment, close to Robson right in front. So we may end up having a battle between these two and everything is said and done. Still not at the halfway mark of this 30-minute long race, and we've seen a lot of drama thus far. Yeah,
still early days yet. We're just getting to the midpoint of the race. Everybody should be getting in a really good groove. Kind of settled out as we're seeing Little making a move to the outside through that cornering complex. That was very nicely done. Was able to take the outside line and make that pass on Robson in the Porsche. And just as an update, we got the top 10, 5 Mercedes, 4 Porsches, and a McLaren. So kind of even split amongst all the cars during the course of the race so far.
Yeah, pretty evenly split for most of the drivers in this field, giving us some good battles though regardless. Sean Gaynor still on the charge in that Porsche. We saw him backwards earlier on, but ever since then, he's been cutting his way through the field like a hot knife through butter. Just got moved on Alex Reuter, heading through turn number 13. That's going to cause him to jump up to P27 in that number 23 car. I'm definitely not just saying this because it's a number on his car. I feel like making up to P23 should probably be the goal for Gaynor, and that would still be a pretty good ask considering it's probably about 8 seconds between himself and the 23rd place runner as it stands currently. So it may seem a little bit goofy, but I think that is still a good goal regardless, as we see some side-by-side racing involving Reuter and Daniel Crocker heading through the opening series of corners. Look at that Crocker on the inside line in that number 10 Porsche. Look at that banging doors heading through turn number 3 and still side-by-side on corner exit. There's the fast kink at turn number 4. While these drivers are going to have to back out of it by the time they get to turn number 5, but I have a feeling that Daniel Crocker is not going to be the one that backs out of it, and he plays me like a fiddle and backs out of it.
Yeah, he said that was probably enough of that for the time being. We don't have to do that right now. We can do that a little later. As you can see, though, it was very differing lines coming through 2 and 3, with that Mercedes going wide all the way out, really exploring the track limits, and the Porsche keeping it nice and tight to the inside line, and it was a nice battle through the corner. I thought at one point that maybe Reuter was going to maybe pinch him too far to the inside, but yeah, nice racing.
And as you can see, I think I think considering that Navarra is one of the newer tracks on iRacing, our wonderful SDK graphics have no idea what's going on. You can see some teleportation behavior going on right now. They're like sliding around like a bunch of ping pong balls. So that's not really sure what's going on there. Well, either way, though, the field rather spread as you get to see some side-by-side racing flaring up yet again between Crocker and the number 21 car, nearly side-by-side coming out of turn number 13. Not close enough to give us a battle for now. Keyword being for now. We still got some really close racing between Crocker and Reuter, and some close racing for some of the spots right towards the tail end of the top 15. Eric Hallsben currently holding on to that P15 spot is right behind him. Andrew Herschel and Matt alone side by side.
Yeah, you can just see, as that was the same thing that we were looking at earlier. You can be very aggressive going up through 2 and 3 and carry a lot of speed, and you're going to go wide, and you're going to invite that car to make that dive on the inside who manages to get it slowed down and keeps it tight. And that's what we've seen several times throughout the course of the races. Lots of battles just from people taking different lines and carrying different speeds. It just kind of tells me that, you know, it's a new track and people haven't figured it out yet. They haven't figured out how to run nose to tail. Speaking of nose, we've got 2 cars into the barrier.
Multiple cars going off the track, coming onto the back straightaway out of turn number 8. I believe Jay Lasco was one of the cars involved in that. Corey Smith may have gotten a piece of that action as well. Whoa. Either way, actually, I believe it was Eric Christensen's. More contact being made, and down into turn number 11. Going off the track is not Richard Chaib, it's Paul Darling, who went off the track along with Anthony Cuthbert, I believe, in the number 39 Mercedes. Multiple cars coming to blows, deciding that now that we're past the halfway mark, these drivers breaking at the elbows in all of the wrong ways. As there you can see the 2 cars going off the track. That, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, was the number 22 of Corey Smith. We saw him involved in an incident earlier on. Jay Lasco, though, in the number 44 Porsche got a piece of some drama hang off into turn number 11. Contact being made between the 2 Porsches, and off they go.
Yeah, that's the original incident there was just the cars basically getting on that outside curb and just thunderfoot and losing the rear. That happens not just here. That happens at a lot of different courses. And then the second one was just 2 cars battling for the same spot on the track, and contact made. Unfortunate that the 44 car got pushed into the wall a little bit. 155 goes through, and I think if they ever see each other again, there'll be lots of flashing of lights in the direction of the 155 car.
Yeah, potentially. That was just ugly a couple of moments ago. We're taking a look at a replay of this Jay Lasco incident. You can see 4 cars covered by practically nothing heading down that back straightaway into turn number 9. Lasco going for the dive. It doesn't work out for him at all. And there you can see side by side on corner exit, Lasco drifting out to the side. Wow. Yeah, that was a messy series of events for Jay Lasco. It was an ill-advised move into turn number 11, runs wide coming out of turn number 10, and it just pings him off into the tire barrier.
Yeah, that was, I was going to say that was, looked like maybe the 155 was the instigator of that, but it was not. It was the 44. just got really offline. It took him a couple of corners to try to get righted, and you saw the contact between him and Scheib in the 155 car.
Yeah, that was just
yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, all good, don't worry there, Charles. Either way, it was just an ugly incident a couple of laps ago. Andrew Herschel may have got involved in an incident himself in the number 69 car. He's making a run down into the pits with 10 minutes left to go, which, it being a race of this series, you don't usually see pit stops. Something's going on there.
Yeah, you don't usually, and I said, is he doing a drive-through? I don't know that that's the proper pit entry. He took the line that the pace car came in on, but there's a lot more pit entry road out there. I don't know if that's the right line or not, and it could be. I could be completely wrong. But as we just getting in there, you could just tell that not a lot of pit practice going on. But Andrews made it into the pits. And not really sure what that was. That was not a stop and go, and it wasn't this. I guess it was a drive-through, but it was a very awkward one.
I'm going to have to look through to see whether or not iRacing even marked it as him serving that drive-through penalty. Gotta look to see at the moment. Yeah, he's still got a black flag next to his name, so Andrew Herschel going to have to make another call to come into the pits. So rubbing salt into the wounds as we see Alan Robson come out of the pits. He's was involved in an incident earlier on, I believe, in that number 24 Porsche. He's out and away, currently class in 34th as it stands currently. Russell Soto blowing his doors off. Well done, well sportsmanlike from Alan Robson to decide to let the drivers at the front of the field blow his doors off and just let them by. It's not his race. He realizes that, and he plays a sportsman role and stops by the side of the road. I thought he was like, I don't want to drive around this racetrack anymore. So that's what I thought was going on at first, but no, that is not the case. As you may see, I'm curious as to whether or not we can check in on Herschel to see when or if he's coming into the pits. I'm not sure if. I think he stayed out yet again. Andrew Herschel.
I will say thanks to Josh for giving me a kind of a run through there, and because I got to see that looks like the extended pit entry line is blocked off. So I think that is actually the proper racing line to come in for pit entry, because I think the extended one, like I said, I think was blocked off by cones. So looks like he did everything right. So I'm not really sure why. That's an odd. Yeah, that's as our producer's talking in my ear. That's a little bit odd. I don't think it. Andrew Herschel with a half-second stop, which could have been the fast repair. I don't think they have a fast repair.
I'm looking through now in this series. Yeah, fast repair is not allowed. So, and I will note, he's still, this may be a slight glitch from iRacing. He's still being marked with a black flag. And if he doesn't come in to serve that black flag in a couple of laps, Andrew Herschel may get flat out disqualified in that number 69 car. So something's a little bit fishy going on there. And I will note about that pit entry, it is a little bit confusing with a lot of different lanes that you can take, but I believe he did take the proper one outside munching on some cones on pit entry. So any autocrossers that are part of the DRSCCA noting that he picked up a 2-second penalty as a result of that. But looking at some drivers who did not pick up a black flag, Zane Cross being one of them. He's running in 4th as it stands at the present moment, as a battle going on with himself and Reuter. And I will note a little bit farther in the back, Andrew Moe, it's still your AM class leader running P8 overall in that number 14 car. There it is, that McLaren heading his way and slamming into the bumps through turn number 5. Turn 5 around here, very reminiscent in my view to turn 1 at Sebring, as we see Andrew Herschel coming back into the pits. Now, I think the reason why iRacing didn't mark it as him serving the penalty is because he went out of the fast lane and stopped. So they were probably like, hey, look, that not serving that penalty. So I think Herschel may have learned his lesson. He's staying in the fast lane, and let's see if it clears.
I think it's the stop that actually is. If he stopped, even if it was only his windshield tear off was ticked, he stopped and took service. Therefore, that drive through does not count as a drive through. So If he stopped in his box, then yeah, he had to come back and do it again. And that's a hard lesson to learn, but it's better to do it in one of these league races than if you're in officials when you got iRating on the line, and to learn that the hard way, and because that's basically put him, a lap down to the field. So yeah, it's one of those things that's, for new drivers to the iRacing service, there's a lot of little intricate rules that are involved in these races that you have to know. And sometimes even the smallest little thing will just kind of bite you.
And I will note as well, he has officially served that penalty. So that is that debacle squared away for Andrew Herschel. Certainly not how he wanted his race to go at all, but it happened to him. It's unfortunate, but thankfully for him, he's got 4 more races left from this season to try and dust himself off and pick up the pieces, leaving this track of Navarra. Looking at some side-by-side racing, though, involving Daniel Crocker, nearly giving a bump to Sean Gaynor, who I should note, the goal that I said earlier on of him making it up to P23 in that number 23 car, he's now been able to do it. Still down 15 spots from where he started in this race, which is certainly not what he had in mind coming into this 30-minute long race. But still, he's up to P23, so the goal that I said for him earlier on that I don't think he listened to, but maybe if he's tuning into this broadcast after everything's said and done here tonight, he will say, hey, made it up to P23, and he's still got some time to make it up to maybe even P22.
Yeah, you never know. There's still a couple of laps left in this race, and I'm just kind of looking, and we've got that nice battle up front, only a half second separating P2 and P3. Further down in the order, we've got a nice 3-car battle between Swartwood, Mod, and Golf. There's 1 second separating the 3 of those cars. And then you got another battle between Barron and McMillian further down the order. So there's several really good battles still on the track.
We still got some good battles to talk about up and down this grid. Drivers giving us some good fights. I will even note that Andrew Herschel has got a fight all of his own with himself and Della Torre in the number 25 cars. That's looking like a battle for P29 as it stands currently. Paul Darling involved in a fight with himself and Schmidt. That's heading through turn number 13 right now. They're going to be side by side through the fast left-handed kink at turn 14. And let's see if one of these drivers is going to back out of it. With about 3 minutes left to go on the clock, these drivers may be deciding to break the elbows out.
Yeah, they look like they're fighting pretty hard. Nobody gave through that corner, and you can see the McLaren now with the angry flashing of the lights. He's saying he's not happy with that. I'm not really sure why, but that was not the greatest line through that corner for the McLaren. He kind of took the inside curbing, so maybe he felt like he got kind of crunched down in there, but good tight battle, no contact between the cars, so they'll keep on racing for another lap or so.
Yeah, still going to be battling hard. They got a lot of time left to go, but contact being made. That's the battle for P2 and P3 between Bob Keach and Tristan Rogers. Thankfully, they've got a big enough cushion to the back of Cross, whereby they weren't going to lose out on a boatload of time. But there you go, Bob Keach letting Rogers by. We're going to have to take a look at a replay to see what happened between those two racers. Cross, though, closing up that gap as a result of that incident. It's now 1.3 seconds between himself and the third-place runner of Keach. Aaron Reuter looking to pick up the pieces there as well. And also the battle between Lincoln Olsen and Fritz right behind. That could result in this becoming a 6-car battle if there's any more incidents between now and the checkered flag. But here we go, heading down into turn number 9. Bob Keach just getting that braking marker, all sorts of loss into turn number 9.
Yeah.
And going to give a big check up to Tristan.
Yeah, I think Bob knew that by letting Tristan get back around him, I think he knew that he just kind of missed the breaking point there, clobbered the rear into that Mercedes, and now it's put both those guys in danger. When they got a nice 4-car train coming up behind them, it might be a 6-car battle here very shortly.
And let's take a look at this 6-car battle at the front of the field. Russell Soto is just driven off into the distance now, 11.9 seconds between himself and Rogers in P2. So that is looking like a dominant win for Russell Soto, certainly making up for the disappointment that he felt at the end of the VIR race 1 week ago. But here we go. We've got some good battles to talk about. Rogers and Keach, they're still close. Cross and Reuter, they're very close, about 3.5 tenths of a second between those two racers, heading through turn number 6 and 7 for the final time in this 30-minute long race. We also got Reuter and Olsen. They may start to battle in the not too far off future as well. Actually, no, that's Olsen and Fritz. My apologies. Fritz and Olsen, they may end up being side by side a lot sooner than I thought. You could see Lincoln Olsen weaving, hang down the back straightaway, trying to break the drift, but it's not enough. Sean Fritz going for the dive into turn number 9. Let's see if he's going to make it sick. Yes, he does. Sean Fritz in the number 28 car getting that move done, but Lincoln Olsen fighting back on the inside into turn number 11. Here we go. Close quarter stuff, banging doors, heading through the 11 and 12 section right now. That is some real close quarter stuff towards the front of this field right at the end of this race. But at the front of the field, the north end of the field, Russell Soto going to be grabbing the checkered flag to win this race here at Navarra tonight. There's a win for Russell Soto. It's going to be a long wait till you get to Tristan Rogers in that Mercedes. He's been driving very good thus far tonight, and it's going to result in a P2 finish. Bob Keach going to round out your podium in third. Cross and Reuter going to complete your top 5. That was a really good fight between Olsen and Fritz right towards the end of that race.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great battling up there, and it was a cool shot to see Zane Cross in his motion rig. You could just see the bumps in the track as he's working his way through some of those corners. And we're still in a battle there with Darling as Hallsbons.
Yeah, Eric Hallsband and Darling side by side right to the line, and it's going to be Hallsband finishing in lucky number P13. Paul Darling, still a mighty drive from him in that race. He's a hard charger when everything is said and done, up 24 spots from where he started in this race. I think the last time we checked on him, he was running in 22nd, so making up from P22 to P14 in that period of time. Well done to him, as we got another battle coming right to the line involving Reuter and Crocker. It's going to be Crocker finishing in P22. Alexander Reuter going to finish right behind in 23rd. Sean Gaynor, I jinxed him. He ended up dropping down to 24th, even though I thought he was going to make it up to P22. Still, though, very valiant recovery drive from him when everything is said and done. Andrew Herschel probably going to be hoping that the penalty kerfuffle earlier on did not befall him in that number 69 car, as he's going to be crossing the line in a couple of moments. Time to round out your top 30 in a race, Charles, where I was personally expecting a bit more attrition, but these drivers really impressive, keeping the car clean.
Yeah, absolutely. 35 cars. We had 40 start the race, 35 finish. Great racing all the way up and down the grid. It was lots of great battles, lots of side-by-side racing, some bravery, and then some lessons to learn sometimes the hard way. Andrew, don't sweat it too much. Everybody's had those. We were just doing a broadcast a couple of nights ago talking about pit exit at Indianapolis on the road course, and how lots of people get that wrong because of the way the pit exit line is stationed. So every time you go to a track, there's a few things that you have to learn. So it's just all part of racing.
Yeah, and it was a brilliant night of racing action here for round number 2 of the DRSCCA Sim Racing Series' 2025 Winter Series presented by Superlap. Now, with all the cars taking the checkered flag, I think we may be able to take a quick look at the results at the end of this 30-minute long race. And it's Redemption Day for Russell Soto. After the disappointment at VIR 1 week ago, he turns it around and gives us a dominating performance here at Navarra. The real-life driver ends up winning it here in Spain. He finishes 12.5 seconds farther up the road from Tristan Rogers in the number 15 car. Bob Keach going to round out your podium in the number 3 car, fittingly finishing in third. Then we have Zane Cross finishing right behind in P4, Ari Reuter in P5. Lincoln Olsen and Sean Fritz gave us a really good battle to talk about towards the end of this race. They complete your first pack of pro drivers. Finishing at the front of the field in the AM category is going to be your P8 overall finisher of Andrew Mowat. Andrew Swartwood going to finish right behind in 9th overall, P2 of the AM racers. Zohair Ahmed going to finish right behind it, rounding at your top 10. Ryan Goff will finish in 11th. Trent McMillian will finish in P12. Eric Hallsband, who gave us that really compelling battle towards the end with himself and the hard charger of Paul Darling. Those two going to finish in P13 and P14 respectively. Mike Schmidt, my apologies. Paul Schmidt's his brother. Mike Schmidt ends up in P15. The Superlap 6 car going to finish in 16th. Matt Malone will finish in P17. Kyle Barron will finish in 18th. And running at your top 20 is David Moreno and Richard Chailly.
Yeah, and Anthony Cuthbert finishes in 21st, Daniel Crocker in 22nd, Alex Reuter in 23rd, Sean Gaynor 24th, Andrew Little 25th, Chad Geidel 26th, Eric Christensen 27th, Arush Kumar in 28th. We roll up the grid, Alex Del Torre in 29th, Andrew Herschel in 30th, Dustin Dark in 31st, Alex Larson in 32nd, Luis Bellotta in 33rd, Alan Robson in 34th, Hazim Zanadine in 35th, Jay Lasco 36th, Corey Smith 37th, Dom Batts in 38th, David Gruzinski 39th, and I think he was the last car to start the race. Then Stephen Kahn and Chris Walker did not take the start.
And so those are your results from the second round of this already very early season. We've got some drivers waiting in the interview waiting area looking to have a chat with us, and the driver that I'm going to bring in to have a conversation with is going to be your dominating winner here at Navarra, Russell Soto. Joining us in the commentary booth, Russell, redemption from that disappointing finish at VIR 1 week ago, dominating here at Navarra. Talk us through it.
Absolutely, Ron. And yeah, it was a tough break over at VIR, but to be able to come back here stronger at Navarra, definitely was locked in for sure this race. Absolutely hungry for the win and really happy to take it off. I mean, it was really a good drive, easy lapping the cars this time around, luckily. And yeah, overall the car felt great, setup felt great. Really happy with this performance.
And you mentioned the setup. I've done a couple of broadcasts of races at Navarra, and I've always heard that the setup is rather important around this track. So I want to ask you about what it takes to try and be competitive around this rather odd race circuit.
Definitely, I'd say setting up the car for a little bit more understeer is what did the trick for me. I prefer the car to be a bit more understeery, so that means tightening up the rear end, making sure it doesn't slip out on exits, especially at this track. It makes all the difference with those really technical bits in the second sector and middle sector of the track.
And it seemed to make all the difference for you here tonight, grabbing a dominating win and finally getting a victory on the board. I say that as if we've been racing for 50 weeks. We're only in round 2, and you're already grabbing a win and also P2 at VIR. Setting yourself up really well for the championship throughout the rest of the season. We're going to complete the first half of this 2025 Winter Series at Laguna Seca in 1 week's time. So what are your thoughts heading into that race?
Definitely another technical track. I think it's going to be more similar to Navarra than it was VIR for sure. Setup's going to be crucial there. I think at least that track might help out, a car that's not necessarily mid-engine. I think that was our disadvantage with the Mercedes heading into this race. Because of those little bit longer straights, maybe I think we have better chance over there to be more competitive overall. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Laguna. It's a favorite track of mine. Who doesn't love the corkscrew, man?
The corkscrew one of many fantastic corners around that track. I don't know why. I've always been such a fan of I'm trying to remember now. It's the third to last corner around there, right after the corkscrew rainy curve. Despite the fact that corner is such a pain in the butt, I always seem to be a fan of that corner for some inexplicable reason. I don't know, some sort of chemical imbalance in my brain. That's part of the reason why that's the case. But Russell, nevertheless, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth, and well done on the win here at Navarra. And before we let you go and celebrate, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Absolutely, guys. Really want to emphasize giving a shout out to Thay's Competition. I've just been brought on as their esport driver, so this is my first official GT4 race win with Thay's Competition. They're a real-life IMSA team that runs the GT4 series in IMSA, so yeah, really, really cool stuff. Really happy they brought me along here. Want to thank, of course, my family back home in New Jersey and all my friends and family now who watch my Twitch stream on twitch.tv/Russell T. Soto as well for all my sim racing stuff. But yeah, just overall really happy to take home the win. The championship is definitely in our sights, and I'm definitely looking to take home that trophy at the end of the season.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, congratulations on joining the new team, and congratulations on the win here at Navarra. Thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth here, Russell Soto, and congratulations on the win. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the stream.
And that right there was Russell Soto, your winner of this race at Navarra here tonight. And we also got Andrew Mowat waiting in the interview waiting area. So Charles, you want to have a chat with our AM winner?
Yeah, let's bring Andrew in here and we'll have a chat with him. So Andrew, congratulations on the M class victory tonight. Highest ranking McLaren in the field. So how did the McLaren get along with Navarra tonight?
She was a bit tricky to drive at first on cold tires, but once everything gets heated up, you just gotta drive it slow and hope it sticks sometimes.
So is this your first effort at Navarra as far as racing?
Yes, I picked up practice session on Sunday to learn the track, and then practice session yesterday and today. That's about it.
Well, what did you think overall as far as the track? It looked very, very technical. We talked about it earlier, how this is kind of not quite a cookie cutter track, but very, very has a very Spanish aesthetic to it, very MotoGP like. So what did you think about it?
I really enjoyed this type of track. You have to be precise on the brakes, and you got to be aggressive on the throttle, but it's not an on-off switch. You really got to play with it, and it rewards smooth and hard driving.
Well, there you go. So next week we'll go to Laguna Seca, and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, Laguna might not be my favorite track. I respect it in the racetrack world, but next week might not be my best week. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to hope for the best for everybody, obviously. And I guess I'll one more little quick comment, since I think you were in last season as well in the Formula 4s. It's a nice grid size we've got this season so far. The turnout has been absolutely amazing. It's been so much fun to see. I've been part of this league for 4 or 5 seasons now, and it's gotten exponentially bigger. It's just so cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Andrew, we'll let you go, but we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs that you want to before we let you get out of here.
Well, thank you guys for broadcasting. You guys do a great job, and shout out to Mike Schmidt, who gave me the setup for this track. He sets up the McLaren well, and I appreciate it.
There you go. Congratulations, Andrew. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And that right there was your AM winner of Andrew Mowat, taking his first AM checkered flag of this season. Let's see if it's going to be the first of many or the first of just one. But Charles, Laguna Seca in 1 week's time, that's going to be a good one. That track is an absolute classic. So what are your thoughts heading into that race in 1 week's time?
Yeah, it's you're right. It is an absolute classic. Russell mentioned the corkscrew. That's that back half of that track is just absolutely iconic. I mean, once you get past turn 5 and you go through the kink and up the Rahal straight into the corkscrew, and as you said, down through the rainy curve, it's just amazing driving. So I'm looking forward to it. And if we have another 40 car grid next week, that's going to make for some just fantastic racing.
And I'm certainly not going to rule that out at all on account of the fact that Laguna Seca, another track part of base content here on iRacing, and fingers crossed, we're going to have a boatload of drivers appear in 1 week's time. And you'll be able to catch all the action throughout this season here on Apex Racing TV. It probably gives you more reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast, that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Mons, Charles Bichelle joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie doing a wonderful job working all the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your night, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.